Do you have your sheet?
No, I'm working on that, that's what I said.
Oh,
I
you're
don't
working on
have no, I don't have that yet. I've got the data file, I'm working on it.
Because we can't really go down and
You
see.
can go through the things you talked about, like in the police department. Is there anything in there? Are you all in agreement for that?
Okay.
Town clerk, tax collector, energy committee wants $500, sustainability wants 1,000, library,
Those things, I guess.
are you like,
Usually we go down your list and
Yeah, I'm not-
just say,
I'm
yes,
not there
do we
yet.
have it, do we all agree on that?
Yep.
All right, so I
So-
guess it'll be,
I did have a question, and you guys are going in. It seems like a lot of money in our town is spent on software and separate departments and stuff. Is it, we have somebody who handles the software too, but then the different departments seem to have other software and stuff. That, is it specific to them, or is that necessary? I mean, it seems like large amounts of money, so, but that's me. I guess that's an expensive item, but,
well, like the selectman's office has the financial package.
right.
We purchased that many years ago, and there's a maintenance. All of them have maintenance. Town
Right.
clerk, tax collector, the avatar system, the assessment system.
Yeah,
So there's a whole list. When Andy comes next week, he's gonna have a list, and he'll tell you exactly what he has in there.
Okay.
He should tell you what exactly is in there. Police department has their own system, and that has to have maintenance, but they all have maintenance usually. Fire department has something. Karen has I don't know if it's still code red, but she has another system in terms of alerting people, so.
okay.
Other than that,
In terms of a format to use for tonight, if everybody has that report that Andy sent out, we could use that.
yeah, I don't think I have it.
What report's
I
that?
don't even
The
know.
budget to actual one he sent out, but Scott actually sent it out.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I made a copy of printed.
At
Yeah.
least that's got a list of all the,
yeah, well, that's this year's.
Oh, I
I
don't
know, it
think-
doesn't have the budgets for this year, but at least it has the departments, maybe there's some structure to go on.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't print it either. So do you have it, or do you, oh, you have it on your,
I don't know.
And I made a copy of it.
And she has a copy. But you can just go down the list, the presentation list, in terms of, because it's really the ones that we've been presented.
I'll put it on the drive cord in case you don't have it.
Okay, yeah, I'm waiting for Gmail to catch up.
The techno wizard.
so we can go through,
Presentation schedule, yeah, that'll work.
Like the
and
police
just
department.
see preliminarily, until Scott gets the actual list done to go through. So we can, police department was first. Did anybody have any questions or objections, or?
I had one question, and I don't know, it seemed like, and did everybody move up as far as, in their, it seems like everybody's moved, got a new title or something, and moved up in their title was kind of what was being said.
In the police department?
Yeah,
Mhm.
so they just kind of,
Was he planning on
They did a
promoting about
couple.
everybody?
you promoted everybody. Is
Doty
it-
got a promotion to the sergeant. Frenchie got a demotion from lieutenant to sergeant.
Oh,
And then somebody else got a promotion. I don't remember who the
okay.
others. So,
It just,
Seemed like a lot of
But
fun.
it's to fill spots that, I mean, they didn't have,
or new spots that they.
it's not a new person, it's a.
Right, right,
Yeah.
but they moved.
so,
So all
yes.
their pay went up a little bit because, well, if
Some-
somebody got
Well, it does
demoted, they
anyway.
probably didn't.
I don't think he changed it,
Yeah,
but, yeah, he was gonna be, he was second in command, but he wasn't doing good at that.
Wasn't he the one that Tom was thinking about having to take over when he was
Yeah.
there?
Yeah,
That was,
He's a
it's chief. Yeah.
Frenchie is a very nice guy, and he's very good with the public and stuff, but he's
Yeah.
not very good administratively. So,
so that would be a good place for him.
Yeah,
He got a
so-
lot of training.
Doty's he got promoted to sergeant, and Doty, according to the chief, is capable of taking over when the chief retires in like 4 or 5 years. So that's the plan at the moment. So, other than that, yeah. And the other thing is confusing, I think, gonna be for you, is all the movement that's happening because Steve's taken over buildings and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
Yeah,
good.
that-
That's
I've
hard to
been-
follow some of it.
I've had trouble
Yeah.
trying to figure out where things are, because there's a lot of open dead space, you know, that's been moved around, I guess, yeah.
So whenever you come across questions, just ask them, Bambi, because,
I will.
you know, I know
I'm
you,
trying to understand.
because some of us have been doing this for a while and we kind of get it, but if you're
Yeah.
new, just ask the question, don't be afraid, and I don't think you're shy, so.
I'm not shy.
So I guess on the police budget, this sergeant line item, is that for 2 people or is that just 1?
How much is it?
119?
That's 2.
Two.
That's most likely Frenchie and Sergeant Doty.
Okay.
But that was probably, I don't know, did he
So
put
we
that
didn't
in?
ask for
We
anything
didn't ask for a new
extra this
appropriation.
year, so I think it's sort of,
Just shuffling people around.
yeah. Just name different titles.
Yeah.
I didn't bring the police one.
I vote for increasing the budget of Wi-Fi in this building.
Not working? Mine's working okay.
Not particularly well right now.
Why wouldn't all of these buildings have gig speed, like, Wi-Fi?
Because it costs more money than
It's
Not,
standard
I have
Wi-Fi.
gig speed, it's not that,
Yeah, I
it's not
just-
that much more, it's
I just
not,
called
you
last
know-
month and it's like $30 a month and I have now 6 times what I had.
Yeah, exactly, it's
I
not that
think
much
they're-
more.
I think they're charging the businesses and the towns in business, I think you're just,
Did you redo the contract with Comcast?
Mhm.
So I'm sure that there was talk about, I mean, one thing I know, they were gonna try and get the library there.
Yep, that didn't come to pass. They only
didn't?
offer the base level to the towns, cities and towns. That's it. So the library paid for their increase themselves, so they got a faster,
They wouldn't do anything? Oh
Hey.
my God.
You're
That is
confusing
like-
business with charity.
No, if Comcast, like, is a
yeah,
multi-million
yeah.
dollar, billion-dollar company, if they work with the towns, they don't have to give it for free. They
Yeah.
can, you know, charge
Well-
a lesser rate or whatever, but
When you're the only game in town, you kind of control everything.
I know.
One of the things
That's
that Atlantic, what is it? Atlantic-
Broadband,
Yeah, well, Metrocast, the Atlantic whatever bought the Metrocast.
yes.
They're interested
It's
in coming
Atlantic
to lead,
Broadband.
which means.
Right, so did you, yeah, but how does that happen and how do you allow
They
it?
have to come to us and seek to, you know, so they've expressed interest, but nothing's happened yet.
And why would you?
And
say
they're,
no?
We wouldn't.
I don't think you'd switch to them. It would be if
People don't
you
like,
can offer an option.
yeah. The new town administrator, Andy, he has Atlantic, whatever it is, that used to be
Broadband, yeah.
Metrocast in Deerfield, and he hates it.
yeah.
I know,
I hate it.
I'll tell you a story. That property that I got right on, it's the, you know, single family, but it has 2 apartments, one upstairs, one downstairs. The one I've been working on, it's 5 Caleb Highway. It was, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but, so it has a little strip of the property in Barrington. So I have like a Barrington tax,
Yeah,
I have a Lee tax, and when I went to hook up the internet, I kept going to Comcast because I know Comcast was Lee. They're like, no, we don't have that property. That's Atlantic Broadband.
oh, okay.
So I kept going back and forth, and I went to Atlantic, and they're like, no, that zip code has Comcast. It's, Comcast has all of Lee, that zip code's Comcast. So finally, after like 2 or 3 days of going back and forth and trying to figure this out, I called Atlantic and I said, look, they're saying that this is, it used to be Metrocast, it's now Atlantic, and try putting in the Barrington zip code in that address. And so they put the Barrington zip code in and said, oh, we service that account. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But,
So do
so
you have-
Atlantic Broadband is not any better. and service-wise and so forth, certainly not.
Well, if you give people a
But
choice,
if there's an option,
yeah,
then at least there's competition and,
yeah.
That isn't gonna happen.
I know,
So
I
we'll
don't think
see.
they will, because they'll,
They don't want competition.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Anyway.
So when we're looking at departments now, we've got building costs totally removed. Payroll costs are included in that department, but
Except for
benefits costs are not, and that's purposely obscured, and we can't know that, and,
Well, you can know that, but you're not supposed to know who it is.
yes.
So you
For
should get,
small enough departments, we
you
can't
can
do
kind of
that.
figure it out. But when Andy comes next week, she should give you a spreadsheet, just like Julie did, in terms of what the benefit things are, in terms of costs and stuff, but with the people's names blacked out, so.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have any issues with the police department, I was happy that they were not.
Speaking of that, this is old news, I guess, but since Julie left, is that problem taken care of?
Yes. Well,
And it had to
yes
be
and no,
paid
because we
out?
had to pay out a large amount of money,
That's
but
what I
yes,
thought, yeah,
the liability went down significantly.
so we don't have that.
He should be bringing that spreadsheet as well, in terms of what the liability, I think before it was like 119,000.
Yeah.
I think we paid her almost 50, so 69, something like that.
I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't negotiate the same in his contract, right?
He doesn't have one.
Oh, okay,
Julie
didn't
was the
do that
only
again.
employee in town who had one.
got it.
Huh?
So we pulled it.
Yeah,
She was the only
she
one that
was
had
She
a
was the only
contract.
one.
Had a contract.
Because chiefs didn't have contracts and.
Yeah, so that was like a
So
a
the
SOAR,
So you
so we got
fixed
rid
it.
of the SOAR.
you fixed it, yeah.
So he has no contract. There's only one difference that he has from everybody else. He starts out with 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks. So usually when you get 3 weeks, it's 5 years. So he negotiated an extra week of vacation for the first 5 years. So that's the only change. Other than that, he's just like everybody else. Just like everybody else.
Yeah,
So there's no special anything.
Excellent.
that's good, yeah.
So I've got these different town budgets, they're all in like completely insane formatting, so trying to like go through and compare them. Some are horribly formatted PDFs.
Yes.
So they're a little bit of a bother.
But I sent you that one that Joanne sent me, so you should have that one.
No, I'm talking about other towns.
Oh, sorry.
As
Just to
a-
do kind of like a sense check.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
trying to just
good.
benchmark what we're doing, because,
Yeah.
you know, we've been told in the past, well, we need to cover all these shifts for the police department. And I've just sort of said, okay. But I don't know, like, do other small towns have 24-hour police shift protection or whatever? Or don't they? I mean, do other towns just say, well, we can't afford that, so we have to have people?
Durham does, Madbury doesn't,
Yeah,
so.
But Durham
but
should.
Durham's not an appropriate comparison for Lee,
Right.
because Durham's,
We should be comparing to people with about the same
That's the other,
amount. of-
yeah, Durham is what,
Where's
30-something thousand
the
people?
sheriff?
state police. But, I'm sorry?
Isn't Durham 30,000 people or something like that, or how big is Durham?
It depends if the
Yeah, it
students
depends
are
if the
there,
students
if
are
the
counted.
students aren't there.
The other, that just,
Well, but it's more money, either way, they have like a ridiculous.
we're having that
larger
problem because we
number.
had a salary study done and it shows our salaries are way out of whack.
As
And,
in too low?
no, as in, yes, we're too low.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, they were low.
But the problem is, the
Yeah.
company that we had do it, and I think I kicked myself for allowing the administration to do it, not the selectmen. Because the company that we had do it compared us against Rochester, Somersworth, Portsmouth. It's like, we don't
Cities.
compare against
They're
them.
all cities.
Well, there's
not
other
towns.
towns in there too, but
Right.
they took those all as an average and said, wow, your people are way underpaid. So I said, no, that's not good, we don't compare, and the response from certain members in the administration was, but we lose people to there. And I said, yeah, but we can't compete, there's no way we're gonna compete. Our police chief versus Dover's police chief, no way.
Right.
And I imagine that
Yeah.
you become police chief of Lee because you do not want the responsibilities of being the police chief of
Of
Yes.
all
Dover.
those
I-
Or
large,
Rochester, I mean, I imagine that being the police chief of Rochester is a nightmare.
yeah, I bet it is.
Probably.
I mean, you're running a Narcan dispensary, it sounds like not fun.
We had someone, I don't know if Tom was here, if it was still Chet March, but someone did a comparison of the chief of police salaries across as many towns as they could get information on. This goes back a few years. There was absolutely no consistency. There wasn't a consistency in the title, in the positions, in the wages. There was, you could take a dartboard. It was no help at all.
So does the state association, municipal association, have this information that we can get from them? Or is they're not working for the town, they're working for the administrative people?
Now, the New Hampshire Municipal Association used to do it years ago, but they stopped.
Why?
Because they stopped. I have no idea why they stopped. So really, it's up to the
You think that would
towns.
be something that,
Yeah, you would, but they stopped. So, yeah, so now some of us on the board are fighting to say, because all the staff are looking, wow, I'm gonna get a 40% raise. No, we're not looking at that, so they're very disappointed and they're kind of agitated, so.
Well, and we also have staff who have stayed in the town for a long time, which suggests that if Denise is not being held here, right? She could go become secretary at some other town, but she hasn't, presumably because this job fits what she wants to do.
Yeah, well, just like other people too. They're happy doing what they're
You don't wanna
doing.
move, you don't wanna change.
Of course, if you're an employee, you want as much as you can
schedule.
get for your time, so I don't behoove them that, but in terms of this particular data point, if you will, it's inflated, it's definitely inflated, so.
that sounds like just being city.
Doesn't sound like
It's
it
a
was
totally
any help
different type
either.
of job if you're
No, well,
administrating that
they
size.
have a series of towns and cities in there, so if we strip out the cities, we can recalibrate just based on the towns, because there are towns in there that are our size. So,
Peterborough?
no, not.
Tom did a thing in the last couple of years, actually, comparing local towns and so forth, as far as how many, officers he needed and
Well, he uses
scheduling
national
and
data, too.
calls and so forth.
He uses FBI data, has presented FBI data. I don't know how useful that is for us.
Well, I suppose.
He did both, I think,
Yeah,
right?
he's done-
Yeah, because it did list the local towns.
It did.
And how many
Oh,
calls they took, and how many, or went on, and how many officers they had, personnel, or whatever.
I suspect the police will probably be the easiest department to compare.
Right, and fire.
Oh, our fire departments are all odd, and we're still trying to be volunteers, so I'm not sure that our,
That's
We're
the
not
police
going
request.
to-
this
I
year.
know, but we're,
We've
For-
stacked it pretty good. with
for personnel?
now.
What's the total budget?
Oh,
Um,
What is- do
I
you
just
have
added, I
that?
just added up, so I'm now pulling it back up.
Police total,
801, is that right?
hold on. Yeah, 801.
so
Okay.
you're comparing budgets to other towns?
Yeah, so, I don't know, I've never done an in-depth study of Stratford, Epsom, and Milton, let alone
Milton's
Danville. But it looks like we fall in the middle of them, so Stratford is 766 for police, Epsom is 711,000, Milton is 991,000, we're at 801,000.
So what is included there is a problem though, because benefits for the employees should be in that total too. We don't
You
have
don't-
that in
yeah.
with their total.
Yeah, unless you can find out if they're included in there or not.
Well, from a
Right.
budgeting perspective, I don't think we can do that though, right?
right,
As in, we can budget and say, yes, you can hire another sergeant, and a sergeant's gonna be whatever half of 119 is,
60.
so $60,000, and that sergeant turns out Catholic through and through, 8 children, he's getting on the insurance plan, you know?
Oh, gee.
We don't know, or
Right.
sergeant, you hire him and he's single, so there's, in terms of budgeting, it's very, very difficult, right? Because we're
As far as health.
telling the departments, you can hire someone at this salary level, but the benefits are
I think
open-ended.
he's gonna get hate mail
But
from
I
all the
think that,
Catholics that are watching.
Well,
Oh, boy.
but whatever it is,
Just-
but we
just
can
remember
ask somebody, how many
where we
kids
are.
do you have?
we're on.
Right, that makes sense.
So from my point is, from a budget perspective, it's better that it be broken out because it's an uncontrollable thing, and the town, I guess, just has to accept a certain level of uncertainty in
But,
the
but the
hiring
thing, in
process.
terms of comparison, our 801 doesn't
Do we
include
know?
benefits, does the 7, whatever it does, include benefits or not,
That
so.
was really the
And
question.
what
Yeah.
percentage
Okay.
would you bump it to, how much? If you've got $1 million worth of benefits in here, for the employees we have, even if you cut it by how many employees the town has and just add it on, that won't be correct, but at least we'll give you somewhat of a number.
Yeah. So you kind of have to know those things in terms of if those things are included or not. So
What's our total budget?
4 million something.
So the benefits is $1 million.
No, it's not that much. Health insurance is like almost 400,000, I think, something like that. You can see.
Well, when I looked at the bottom line of all these town budgets, they're almost all calibrated at around 1% of the property value. So it seems like that's where people land. I don't know if that's an explicit goal, it certainly wasn't a number in my mind before this, but our property base is essentially 100 times the amount of our budget. And with Lee, it's something like, we're spending on the town like 0.99%. It's almost exactly 1% of the
Well,
property
as you
base.
know, the big thing in our property is not the town, so it's the school. So-
Right.
Yeah, so should our goal then be, as, I guess, one way to frame our discussion is, what's our goal? Is our goal to be flat with last year? Is our goal to radically slash and bring down the tax burden on the town? Is it to increase a certain service that we see being lacking? I don't know, because
Right.
we could just say, well, everybody goes up 2%. Why, you know?
That
Is there any
doesn't-
return on investment there? How do we think about return on investment when it comes to these things? You know, what's the return on the fire department? You don't make money from the fire department.
Right.
But hopefully there's someone there with a hose in case you're on fire.
That definitely is a benefit.
So I mean,
I think that's
The people.
this group's determination, because the selectmen are gonna do their own determination. Basically told the department heads, you know, if you think you need something, put it in. If we think it's too much, we'll take it out. But budget what you think you need. So that's what we said. And in terms of salaries, that's something we're handling with this particular study, so that's not in their purview at the moment. So they can give recommendations, but in terms of the police department, is there anything else? I'm trying to move us along.
Yeah.
Right.
I think personally that we should be compensating people, you know, for their loyalty and for their hard work that they've done here. And I mean, just looking at the police chief's salary alone, like, he's not requesting an increase for himself. But we all know that things are more expensive now than they have been in the past, and just like inflation alone means that we should give him at least a cost of living raise at a minimum, in my opinion, and then maybe something else to thank him for his hard work. So I think that, you know, if I had a say, if I got to choose, then salaries would be where I would want to spend any extra money, as opposed to some other ancillary costs.
And one of the things the select board has talked about is because we got some of the ARPA money, the CARES money, so almost 480,000. So we've used a little bit of it. We're looking to use some of it for improvements to this building, but some of it we want to target towards salaries. So trying to adjust that particular issue because inflation, they're saying it's like 5%, so that's significant. I can't remember a time when we've ever given a 5% raise, so maybe that's something we need to look at. But those particular funds are available for like one-time things. We got half of it already, and we'll get the next half next, I think, July 1st. So those funds can be used for like one-time things. We shouldn't really count on them because they're not gonna come necessarily the year afterwards. So if there's like salary bumps or, you know, like this building, one of the things we're looking at is sprinklers and or an air handling system for the bays. So like one-time things, so, because this building needs some TLC, if you will. So there's issues that need to be dealt with. But the thing is, the good thing is that Steve, now that he's in charge of buildings, is taking the bull by the horns. So that's why we're seeing all these
Right.
issues.
They've been hidden. They've been there.
Yes.
We've known they were there, but they haven't been put out and said, here it is, and this is what I'll do to fix it. So that's
He's very
pretty
good. The other thing we have to be careful of, Steve has a lot on his plate, and he's, I believe, this is my opinion, he's starting to get burned out. So we have to be very careful.
Didn't we talk the other day about making sure he had an assistant who could help help do the things that maybe would make his job easier, you know, he could
That's
say,
something-
take care of
You
this.
guys were working on that, you
That's
said.
something to explore. And just like this, and we had it, but time before, in terms of the rec commission,
Mhm,
maybe somebody to help with those particular programs,
right.
but we have not made any decisions as a board to say, yes, we're gonna have that, or no, we're not gonna have that, so. But that's
Yeah.
something for this group to consider as well.
What about if that money is only one-time type money too? Is the town able to give bonuses or, you know, one-time bonus too, or not?
We have in the past, yes.
Okay, so
Like last
that
year.
is a possibility for some of these people
Yeah, it
that
doesn't,
really went over and above during that time.
yeah, it doesn't affect their base, and it doesn't affect the retirement cost, and so that's,
That's more sustainable, because it's very hard to give somebody a pay cut.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. I don't think we've ever given anybody a pay cut, so.
Right.
No, you know,
So
but
where are
usually
we
salary
at?
is a ratchet, right?
Well,
Police.
depending if you like what you see in the police. I don't know if anybody had anything.
Nope.
Just what Stacy
Okay.
said as far as
Yeah.
looking at salaries and so forth. All right, so otherwise, police is
Okay,
good.
town clerk,
Pretty much there.
It basically is what it is, right?
Right.
It's not.
the big thing to remember in there
Hold
is,
on, I'm opening it up right now.
Change going
yeah, she's gonna be retiring, so the idea, as she stated, that Jan would go full-time and then they'd have to hire somebody to fill. So,
That she would train as, but
yeah,
what's her name, Cheryl, or
yeah, so,
she'll take over
yeah,
as
Yeah,
so the
the
transition.
clerk, but Linda will train someone to,
Yeah.
you know, before she goes.
I'm a little
To be the
concerned that
assistant.
there's no bump in training for them. Because if you're going to be training somebody new, you know, you might want to add a little bit there to train that person.
I thought they did have,
They do, and I don't
Training.
think it costs very much,
They've got $400 for training.
yeah.
Yeah.
so that would be, the training is like going to outside training.
Well,
and so
there's
forth.
conference and travel, well, that's conference, that's only $182.
That doesn't include what
So-
Linda will be doing, staying
Right.
for a little bit of time, so that's not under
Right.
training.
But are
That's
they
under-
going to send this person to get some training? You know, that was my question.
There's
Sounds like it's
class-
mostly on-the-job training for
Well,
Linda.
there's classes in
Right.
Concord that a new person would have to go to, and they're not very expensive.
Yeah, the state's pretty good about
I think
Yeah,
that's
so
what
it's just the
she was
travel cost.
saying, like, and if you,
Okay, let's put that down as a question.
yeah, increased. All right. Otherwise, good.
Mhm.
I have
Energy?
one more
Or you-
question,
yeah.
I'm sorry. The dog tags, you know, there's a price, I'm assuming that's the price for the tags.
Yeah,
But then money comes in to pay for the tags, but we don't see that money.
that's the revenue side.
The revenue, so I haven't been seeing the so I don't know.
Yes,
Never see the revenue.
I fought with the previous administration to get revenue, and they would send it every once in a while. So when he comes, I'm gonna ask him to do the revenue.
Because it doesn't make sense to me if I don't have both.
Yeah, you should see both. You're supposed to be getting, and I fought this battle too, those reports I sent you, they don't have revenue, and I
Right.
always ask for revenue. That's all bad history, so.
Yeah.
It's
New
going.
administration,
You have to train the new one better.
poor Andy, he sent out, what was it? I think it was that report, but he sends out an email that says, here's the latest financial report, and there's no attachment. So then he comes back with another email, says, here's my second try at sending the financial report, no attachment. Then Denise comes on and says, he's working on it, give him a minute. And so then another thing comes along, and it's an attachment, but it's not in any format that I can read. It's like, I don't remember what the thing was, I could not open it. So I sent back and said, can you send one that's in a PDF or something like that? And he writes back and says, this is a work in progress, you'll have to be patient.
Well,
So then he
I'm
sends
happy
it.
to say that I can
There you
read
go.
this
There
one,
you
so
go.
thank you.
So on the fourth attempt,
Yes,
so he's working on it.
so financial officer.
So I'm gonna see if we can get revenue too. There should be no reason why we can't. Anything else in town clerk?
No.
Energy committee, they want $500.
Approved.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to say about the energy committee, I think the notion of putting a charging station at any town building makes little sense
I agree with you.
and would basically benefit wealthy people at the expense of, like, I'd rather give $500 to kids to play baseball
Yeah,
than to put a charger in for somebody who's got
A
whatever
Tesla?
money to spare to put a Tesla charging station in.
well, then-
It makes sense at someone's work, and from the point of view of the energy committee, let's say they say, we don't care about money, we wanna save energy. Usually someone is doing that, it's at someone's workplace,
Yes.
right? So that they can round trip, because they've
Yeah.
got range anxiety, they wanna be able to charge when they're at work.
it's a good thing, though.
So it would only be a benefit for employees then. It shouldn't be seen as some sort of a civic benefit, it's only for somebody who works, because no one's going to the library long enough to supercharge their Tesla.
Mm.
So
Well,
to me, it
somebody
makes,
driving through the town may notice because it's on a site and go, oh my God, I'm almost out of electricity and I need to stop. Because in this part of the country, there really isn't a lot of,
That's not something our town needs to spend money on.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
but it would be nice that the town had electric
Well,
vehicles.
So I think the energy committee should be just squarely focused on trying to help Steve with any building
Yes.
projects he can of like,
Right,
how can we weather strip and insulate things?
Yeah, but I think in the
like the
infrastructure
lights and all that.
bill that just got passed, or the House passed, there's money in there for doing charging stations throughout the nation, so.
Shouldn't they be somewhere like,
Like at the traffic circle. like the
Exactly,
buses, something
yeah.
like that.
Maybe you can install one at the bookstore.
Sure.
At the
I mean, you want rich people there, right? That's
We
why all the bunch.
We already get enough people parking their,
which bookstore?
Oh,
their Porsche SUVs at the bookstore and going in and buying an $8 used book.
Oh my gosh.
So, that's
Well,
fine.
the thing is, if you look at where the other things are, my son has 2 Teslas. And yes, he's one of those rich people. But he says the best thing that he finds in terms of travel, when he travels around, is where there's a charging station and then there's something to do.
right.
Like a food place or a store or
Dunkin'
something,
Donuts.
because you go, charge your car, and then you go do whatever the thing is, and then when you come out, your car's all charged.
If
So
it's
it
a
makes sense.
Tesla, it only takes half an hour to fully charge it. If it's another car, it takes 24 hours.
Oh, okay, well.
On
Some of
those
them, yeah,
chargers.
they're
So
all
for
different.
the low cost of $2,000, we may attract one more patron to the library per day? I don't know. I think the money would be better spent somewhere else.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
All right.
But $500 for the energy committee is going toward what? Just,
There's,
Stop.
yeah, there's
Like
some
we-
office supplies and something else.
Yeah.
okay.
And they wanna do something, I don't know if I have their sheet, no, I don't have their sheet. I have sustainability. But it was like for marketing their programs.
Like printing?
Yeah, stuff like that. And I think they wanna have an energy fair too, I believe that's what he said.
We didn't talk about energy here.
Yeah, they had one, is it September? I don't remember, it was on a Saturday. And they had some electric cars and they had some different people there talking about it, so
Right.
as I vaguely remember, he wants to do something like that again in better weather.
Solar and.
Yeah. Sustainability, they want 1,000. And they are looking for $100 in operating expenses, clerical stuff, $750 for outreach and programs.
They
And
wanted to run
150.
another one of those classes where you learn how to fix things and stuff. I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
was one of the,
That wasn't
I like
publicized
that
too
one.
good.
It wasn't publicized, but it was great, I
Yeah.
thought.
They want to do medicinal composting, artisan and cottage industry directory, lease trees, which they're doing now, backyard farming initiative, use less campaign, and drought and water awareness. That's what they want to do. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Library?
Where do they stand with Ruth's replacement? Has Ruth left yet?
Ruth's last day is this Friday. There's a going away party from 3 to 5 at the library. If you'd like to come, you're
On
invited.
Friday, 3 to 5?
3 to 5, refreshments are served, and that's her last day. I don't think they've chosen anybody yet, I haven't heard that they have, but I'm not necessarily privy to everything that they're doing, so.
Mhm.
I was just curious system.
Did they ask for the same?
I think it's up just a little
I
bit.
was-
I think they separated it this year because last year, remember we combined things and we thought we were giving them more than what they had the year before, but that
What happened?
didn't go over well.
I was just curious if they were gonna be able to replace Ruth for what they had.
No, they put in extra money for that.
They're gonna be able to-
Someplace here, where is that? Oh,
I'm looking for
It looks like the
library.
salary's
I'm having
flat.
trouble finding it.
well, it went from 2022 is 202 and 2023 is 219. So they went up a little bit, but they went up just a little bit on the library director. I suspect they're gonna have to spend a little bit more. Associate library, assistant librarian, they went up about $4,400.
Now, last year, we had the big go-around about whether or not the children's librarian was gonna become benefits
Full-time.
Full
eligible.
time,
I
yeah.
don't-
They left that alone.
I don't think, well, looks like they said full-time. It says full-time.
Youth
They did it
services
themselves, I
librarian?
think.
Yeah, because we didn't, they
Okay,
did it themselves.
okay,
Yeah, that was a big to-do.
yes.
I'm sorry.
I don't see their total, you guys see their total? I don't see their total. I see summary.
It's on the Excel document, their total says.
Oh, on the cell, okay, I don't have that, I just
The
have
total
the
says 271 for their request.
271, all right.
And it looks like the
So-
youth services librarian is still part-time based on this.
Really? And here
What
it
is
says
that?
full-time.
Where are you looking?
250.
On
Here,
this
that's-
thing that they submitted, it says full-time.
The numbers are the same, so this says, I see that the PDF says FT,
Yep,
but it's at 33,906.
yep.
It says PT on the spreadsheet at 33,906.
Hmm.
So whatever hours this person is working,
So
They're
that's
getting
the
paid the
amount.
same?
that's really, we should ask that question.
But are they getting the benefits? That was
Well,
the big thing.
if she goes to full-time, she has to. That's what
Yeah.
that's the reason I wanted her to.
Right,
So it looks like the insurance and health has gone up.
Okay,
So that may
that's
be,
a
Approximately
question.
$8,000 based on the
I would say
PDF.
that she's getting benefits then. Well, you said, what went up, $8,000?
Insurance, health.
it was at 57,000 and now it's set to 66? Is that the total
8,000.
ancillary PR?
Yeah.
Then maybe she's getting only the two-person plan.
I always think of PR as public relations, but in this case, it's what?
Personnel.
Personnel,
Family
I'm
plans,
also
firemen?
showing 53 here, so I'm.
All right, so that's a question we should
Reimbursement?
ask.
Okay, yeah.
so last year we gave them 250, a flat 250,
Yeah.
and they want 271.
Yeah,
now that, part of that is the additional for the,
But is that for the director?
director's in there.
Director's salary is
So-
flat.
Yeah, it's up just a tick.
But
So it's $175,
did
that's the
Ruth get
difference.
benefits?
Yeah.
So she was on the insurance.
a difference,
She was on a two-person plan with her husband.
no,
I thought Ruth said during the presentation that she
$21,000.
took the buy-up.
No, I think I don't think she took the buyout this time.
Oh,
Her
okay.
husband's having,
Okay, so she needed to switch that up.
yeah, because then people taking the buyout went down this last year. But we'll find out from Andy's spreadsheet what it says, but I'm kind of sure she took the insurance, but
What are the plans with the library physically? Have upgrades been made? Has construction been done?
don't get me started on the library.
But it hasn't, nothing has happened yet?
No, that's what I was talking to these, oh yeah, you came in later. The library went in front of the Conservation Commission to present their proposal. And the Conservation Commission is going to be submitting to the ZBA their recommendation letter. They go in front of the ZBA for, I think there's 2 variances they need on the first part of December. I want to say like the 2nd or the 3rd or something like that. So we're making them do the same process that everybody else would have to do to get approvals, so.
So are we asking for some additional detail on the increases?
For the library?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we should at least ask, is the children's librarian, assistant librarian, full-time or not, I think it benefits.
Okay.
It wasn't obvious. So,
So they're asking for 21,000 more, right, than they did last year? That's total, so.
I guess so, I don't have that sheet.
Well,
but
last year
that's
they
what it
asked
says.
for more, we just decided to give them.
We just gave them a
250.
flat
Yeah.
250,
Yeah,
but it was more, the year before was 247, so we said, okay, let's just give them 250 and hopefully they're happy with that, but that didn't include any of the changing of positions or benefits for the other lady, and then we were, yeah, not making them happy, so I guess this does.
Mm.
How do we feel about the increase?
That's what I was wondering. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't know, I don't go to the library very much, so I guess that tells you how I feel about the library increase.
Well,
They
let's
do a
see.
lot for the,
Communities.
a lot of the people in the town,
Yeah.
but,
And you don't have to necessarily decide, you can wait till,
Well, it's
you
an
have all the funds.
8.5% increase in their budget versus what police is asking for, nothing more?
Nothing, I don't remember, I thought they were up just a little bit.
Yeah, but it's very tiny bit.
yeah,
So,
I have to go back and look and see whether it's all in the salary increase for the director. If it's really, if that's where it is, then that's,
It
I
didn't seem to
think
be.
they separated it, didn't they?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at
They
the,
separated it out.
I'm looking at the presentation.
yeah. How much of the increase is from this director's salary?
The director's salary from one year to the other is not changing very much. They basically just rounded the number up.
So all of that 20 is not in the salary.
They're trying to maybe get from increasing the other person to their, for their benefits and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
that
like
they didn't-
$8,000
That
for
they didn't
benefits.
get last year, maybe.
Yeah,
So if they don't hire somebody till after this budget's approved, then they have to hire them at a dramatically higher dollar value, where does that leave them?
they have to find it in their budget.
That's what I thought. So is that part of the reason they're trying to get some additional dollars in there?
I do not know.
Maybe.
But they should have just allocated it to the director position. Instead, it's being, we had a PT turning into an FT with about $9,000 added to the ancillary costs and then $8,000 added to the insurance costs.
Mhm.
Sounds
So-
like they did the same thing they did last year.
So it seems like a funny place to
It's for that.
put the emphasis if that's probably gonna be your major thing, is that you have to hire a new library director and probably not at that same amount.
I would think. But also in terms of, when we had the salary study done, we asked them if they wanted to include their positions, and they said no. So we didn't include those. So I cannot tell you what other library directors are making.
Well,
Or can
we
you tell
may,
us what the
if
library
they,
directors
if
are
she's
making?
leaving,
Yeah,
then
really.
there's gonna be some pressure on them to hire somebody, so
Yeah.
we may know what they're paying the new librarian before we finish this.
Yeah.
Could,
So that should answer that question.
because I know they're in the hiring process, but I don't know if they've hired anybody yet.
So can you find that out, and also what they did with the,
Who they hired?
no, I meant what they think they're gonna need for salary.
I can ask.
Maybe, is there anything offering a librarian job in the town of Lee? And we could see what
They
their,
don't put salaries in
They
there.
don't.
they don't,
They did.
they don't put ranges or
No.
anything?
No. I haven't seen a job offer, a job listing of the salary in 100 years.
Some do, but
And I think,
I
yeah,
don't believe they had one. Like when we did the town administrator, we didn't put a job, salary range.
You did
in there.
not?
But he could just look in the budget.
Yes, and he did, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he knows.
Anything else?
All right, still questions on the library, obviously, right?
yep,
Okay.
cemeteries,
Cemetery.
they want
What
like,
do
what
they
is
want?
it, 8,000, I think, or something like that.
In Deerfield, they're offering $50,000 a year for a library director.
Who?
No.
Really?
43 to 50.
How much was ours?
What, the what left?
61,
Our library director.
61,
61
5.
something, yeah.
So,
Cemetery wants 7,800, they were up 800 from last year. That's a little bit in maintenance repair and
of
a little bit in
stones,
flags.
mowing, new flags, new
Yeah.
medallions.
And you were talking about rebuilding some monuments too.
The base.
There was
The,
some crumbling apparently.
Down to Old Parish.
And they took all of the money that we used to give the members of the board and the superintendent, and converted that into money they spent on all. Those people took nothing now.
Yeah,
Which I say we give them what they ask and you're just,
well, the thing is, you can budget for it, but if they don't take it, there's people on this particular group last year that didn't take some of it.
right.
And there, I don't remember, at least one trustee, the trust funds didn't take it either, so.
So everybody good with that?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need that money.
Recreation,
Recreation. So he wants a $10,000 person, basically an assistant, right?
somebody to do the scheduling and to organize programs.
He wants to get rid of ORYA, who's now doing it.
Right, that's why he wants that $10,000.
So-
And he says, oh, we can put it into
And he has somebody apparently that he wants to hire that he's talked to who
Right.
he thinks is good and would run some, they'd have more control over what's going on and,
So I have concerns about this,
yeah.
in that, I don't know, like Larry seems to not like Oyster River Youth Association.
Yeah.
And that's Larry's thing, I don't,
many years.
I don't quite understand it. I haven't heard a compelling argument as to why that's the case. But the problem with hiring a person for $10,000 is, what are you building?
What are you
You're
doing?
building nothing, because if that person leaves, it just strikes me that ORYA is supported by 3 towns, it's a full-time person, it's probably someone who wishes they could be a director, an athletic director at a high school, or whatever. They do that job for a few years, they move on. I'm just thinking about how that sustains itself as an organization, right? But it's a full-time person who can create something and pass it on to the next person. Is a $10,000 a year part-time person and leave? They might do it for several years and be great. But then does that just evaporate when that person's gone? And it's very, very hard to find somebody to do something for $10,000 a year on an ultra part-time basis? Versus ORYA is sustaining one person's full-time salary. And that person, like I say, I don't think that that's somebody's ultimate aspiration, to work at ORYA for the rest of their lives. It's probably a good thing to do as like a job coming out with some sort of, I don't know.
He's been there for a while.
Kinesiology.
Part of
Get a
this
PE degree,
is-
I don't know.
Yeah.
Part of this is that, and some people don't see, that ORYA and what they do with team sports and so forth is completely different than what Larry does with Lee's rec program. It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing any sports
No.
programming or anything
So
like that, right?
he doesn't want to give any money to support them, which, you know, there's arguments both ways because they charge. So what our money does that we give to them is reduces the cost of Lee residents who are participating in their programs at ORYA. So that's basically what it does. That's what the money does. It's not like Lee is gonna now start taking over, you know, running team sports. That's a huge
That's a
undertaking,
totally-
Yeah.
Huge burden.
whole huge program, everything else. So, you know, taking away the money from, you know, ORYA for the purpose of, you know, hiring someone part-time to,
He wants to do, it sounded like, well, I might be wrong, other things than sports.
right, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But that has nothing to do with ORYA. It's not, that's not what they do.
So ORIA, if the town decide to pay them 50,000, then they would drop what each
Yes.
resident,
Yes.
it would be
Who
clean.
participates?
Right, but my question is there are people, and I'm looking at the price of those programs, for somebody who financially is strapped, they can't afford to pay those rates that they're still paying. Is there a way to set up some money that
They have a
would?
They
scholarship.
have a
We
scholarship.
do,
Scholarship too.
yeah,
They have scholarships.
there are
Okay.
scholarships. and-
Okay, I didn't
So,
know that, so.
That's what we made sure when we were reducing over the last 3 or 4 years. But that no kid that would like to participate would be left out.
Okay.
That there would be money to be able
Well,
to
I'm glad of that,
give
because that's what I
scholarships or
didn't
whatever.
see, and I was
Right.
concerned about.
That's what we wanted to make sure from the beginning of this whole reduction of, ORYA.
They have to provide need. So
Right.
they have to prove that they.
That's understandable, as long as
Right.
it's not arduous, you
Yep.
know.
Okay, the other piece of this is the care of the fields and the scheduling.
Yep.
And ORYA does do that
At the moment.
at the moment. How
So
has that
Larry-
been going? It's gone up and down over the years in terms of
I
whether or not it
think
works.
I don't remember the contract, I think goes until next April. But I think what we're trying to get the next time is to have Steve do it.
Okay,
so
so you
Steve's
wanna
in-
get,
Like the town will take over the
So,
maintenance of the,
Steve's involved
Little
now,
River
they do
Park
it as
and-
kind of a joint thing.
yeah,
But I think going forward, we'd rather have Steve do it, because Steve does most of the work anyways.
how
So,
about the scheduling?
no, I don't want the scheduling. You know,
I know
so
Julie
that
did
was
it for a
one of
while,
the things
wasn't
that
great.
Larry had talked about, this person
Would do the
doing,
scheduling.
would do the scheduling, and
He
he,
seemed to be
he
concerned
seems to
about
be-
scheduling, because
Yeah.
that seemed to be a sore spot that,
yeah. But I think,
he would like to control the scheduling, which I don't know whether it would or would not be a
What
good
do you
idea,
think?
but.
I don't understand what's going on with the field maintenance. So field maintenance is,
in years in the past, there was things that should have been done to the field that weren't, and Oyster River Youth was in charge of it. So Larry tried to get on them, and I don't know, Larry and him are,
like fertilizing, leveling,
there was some
aerating,
maintenance
all
things that
sorts of
weren't
things.
getting done.
All, yeah. a
So
bunch
then
of
we
that
got
stuff.
Steve involved, so.
When we say that ORYA takes care of it, is that they pay somebody to come do it.
We pay
Yeah.
them and they pay us.
Yeah, so,
They're paying a lawn care service or
yeah,
turf
to
care
do whatever.
service. or
So
something.
now Steve's involved with them, so it's kind of like Steve's doing most of it anyway, so why don't just have Steve?
Because presumably Steve has to mow everything that's not an athletic field at Little River Park, for example.
He has to mow everything.
Okay,
This is like maintenance, like, there was an issue, the only one I remember
The
is on the
baseball
baseball
field?
field,
Yeah.
there was some weeding that needed to be done, and they didn't do it.
It
and-
was crabgrass maintenance, and it was taking over the
okay.
area, so that was one of the things, yeah.
So just in terms of,
So I understand that, even though we acknowledge that that means putting more on Steve Bullock's plate, and we've decided that we're burning
it's
him
already
out.
on his
I know.
plate, it's already on his plate.
Okay.
anyways.
It's already on his plate, we just shouldn't pay somebody to not remove crabgrass.
So the only thing I'm thinking, and I've been after them for a while to do this, because we have Oyster River Youth for kids, to get them, recreated, if you will, but there's nothing for like older people. Years ago, probably 15 years ago now, there used to be somebody in recreation that used to organize like trips to different places, like to ball games or museums and stuff.
Do that.
But, we don't do anything like that, so it's like the people that are middle-aged or older, there's nothing organized for them to do.
Does that require hiring someone for $10,000, or just require Larry recruiting people to organize more volunteer stuff? And we have a rec committee
Yeah,
who are
there's
volunteers.
3 people.
Okay,
That's,
so we need more
That's it.
volunteers.
there's
Issues.
there's issues. Pat knows the issues, I'm not
What
gonna
are the
say,
issues?
I'm not gonna say on air.
There's just a lot of personalities.
Yeah, that's good, I like
There are
that.
personalities.
Personalities.
Okay, but $10,000 doesn't get somebody a new personality, right? It's
No.
hard, it takes more money to buy a new personality than that.
But if there was a personality change,
You have to.
then you could, yes.
Okay,
So
so
I
that,
think the 10,000 is a complete no.
I mean, I would rather support, whatever the problems are with ORYA, I would rather support them than to try to build our own ancillary ORYA on the side. It just makes sense to me that that's
That's
probably.
not even an option. I
Yeah.
mean, you're not gonna recreate ORYA. They do their thing,
Yeah.
and our
Right.
kids will participate in the program. There's no way Lee's gonna start their own program. It's not, you wouldn't have
Right.
enough kids, you
It does
wouldn't
not
have,
make
it
sense
just doesn't even,
to start another kids program.
no.
But
It
for
makes
older
it-
people,
But for older
Older people, you
we
could do
really
something like
need-
that.
We really need something in Lee, because the people that I've talked to who have moved away, who are the ones, the kids are now out of the school, they find that there's nothing here for them. There's no place to eat unless you drive somewhere. There's no programs, there's no community
Yeah,
here.
nothing but high taxes
So they
and
move
loneliness,
away.
so, you know.
You know, the
Some
kids
people are
are
into that,
captured
though.
here,
Right.
and now they're leaving, and that's exactly what they told me.
Yeah,
So they've moved.
So that's a good point, and
So you need
that
something.
money, if we wanna do that, what I'm saying is, all of this has nothing to do with ORYA.
Right.
Yeah.
It
doesn't.
is, if we
It's
want
not-
to set up a
yeah.
program, or give $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever to, you know, maybe earmarked for a senior
He's got
program or
money
something
in
like
there,
that.
probably, over and above the.
Yeah, why don't we just
That's
tell him that
fine.
if he wants more money next year, he needs to show us that he can start doing some adult programming.
Yeah, I-
But
we've tried
ORYA,
that
we
with
need
him
to
before.
decide,
This is not the first time he's come back wanting to hire somebody.
right,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, we've been down this road before.
yeah,
He does not deter easily.
yes, so.
He's very
Hopefully-
persistent. He's
hopefully
good, and
they'll
he
be
does a
done.
lot of good things with the
Yeah.
programs that he does. It's really good. This going back and forth about funding ORYA or not funding ORYA because we wanna give more money to Larry, it has nothing to do with each other. It's not, you know, we decide what we wanna give to ORYA to curb what our kids are participating in their programs, and that's it. If we wanna do something else for Larry, then we talk about that.
What did we approve last year for rec commission?
15, I think, or was it?
For ORYA,
ORYA?
No,
Oh,
for
rec, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
$10,000, $12,000,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
The other thing you need to be aware of, which you can all have conversations with Karen Rossi yourself, but I don't know if you remember when he did the presentation, Larry did this, I asked him specifically, did the rec commission vote on this? And he said yes. According to Karen Rossi, some of the things that are in his presentation were not voted on in favor by the rec commission. So just be aware of that. So there's an agenda there that's being played, so have your own conversation with Karen Rossi, and she'll tell you specifically what was approved and what wasn't.
Can we send back the
Well, we
message
kinda
that
need to
we are
find out.
interested in having some senior programs here, and we'd like to see him come up with some sort of way to do it?
Yeah,
We're not interested in the part-time person.
and, you know, there's other things, the tennis court and,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
a
that
good
going
idea.
round and round and
Yep.
what we're gonna do with that money, the pavilion floor and all, you know, all
Well,
the,
also the thing that we did during the pandemic was the ice skating rink, so that should come back.
that was,
Yeah, that was
that was a big
had nothing to do
success,
with the
right?
Rec commission, that was just something Steve decided to
Well,
bring
he
back,
just-
right?
Steve and Peter Hoyt.
Yeah, because
Peter Hoyt,
wasn't it
yeah.
Peter that had all the boards?
Yes, you say from how many years ago?
And Warren,
But
They all-
that should be
they
something
all-
the rec commission can at least organize,
In this
so,
town,
you know.
the way they
Yes.
come forward and do stuff, so.
that was so much fun walking, you know, just watching people.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Skating and using it. I didn't go out and use it, but I
Well,
did.
you would have fell down here.
Yeah, I probably
The
would.
walkers that were donated.
Hey, I played
from-
hockey
from
throughout
the
my
transfer
youth,
station.
but right now, I would,
The walkers were great.
My 2-year-old used one of those
Yeah,
in winter last
Oh, really?
summer, the walkers.
yeah,
Yeah, because otherwise he was just gonna fall on his face the whole time.
that's awesome, yeah. They have them at Jackson's,
He
you know, for people.
All right, what's next?
So,
Okay.
so is our thing on the rec commission, zero out the $10,000
Yes.
line and approve everything else?
Yes.
That's our recommendation?
What do
Well, then we
you,
can-
what does everybody think?
I'm just, for the minutes.
Oh, we're not really voting on anything, so you don't need to include all that, and if you don't want to.
Okay, I can just say we discussed the
Yes.
rec
Right.
commission.
Right.
Strong personalities
Okay,
were discussed.
Yes.
Make sure that makes it in there.
Conservation Commission.
Conservation.
I don't have that one, but they wanted, what, 12, something like that?
Conservation
They
Commission.
want 10,850.
Okay.
At the risk of getting us off target here, At the last meeting, you discussed a piece of property that the town might be interested in buying.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
You're not?
Well,
What,
that's my opinion.
Okay, my question wasn't about the property, it was about the process. Why would that not have gone through the Conservation Commission?
I was told it did, but then when I attended their meeting, it did not. Subsequent to that conversation, we found out that that particular piece of property, it's like 20 acres, but a large percentage of it is already covered by existing ordinances and state rules, so it's protected anyways.
Okay.
So there's no, and this is my opinion, the
Okay.
board needs to still discuss it, but it's already protected, that watershed is already protected. The upland, you could still do something with it. It's in the commercial zone, but there's so many restrictions, I don't think anybody would ever put anything commercial there.
On Route 4 right
Yeah.
there? Yeah, up
So-
front of.
Yep.
Okay, but I was just curious.
So
why
The
you
property's
said
been
that-
rendered commercially useless already?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
basically,
That's a fine-
yes.
Okay.
I would say
Because
never.
it's too narrow right there, right?
Well, it's
It has to be
Between,
set back quite a bit, and then you're getting down the hill.
it's,
we were gonna have greenness.
ooh, you have chalk.
So Oyster River comes down through here. The Mill Road comes down there. This is Route 4. So, what else? What else? Oh, and there's a trailer here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right,
and then the water line's going through here.
right.
So the wetlands comes up like this, down like that. So she owns all this. So you could potentially put maybe something here, but it's not really big enough. You couldn't put like a large parking lot or anything. You could potentially put something here, you have to get rid of the trailer. But in Karen's estimation, she doesn't think anybody would want it commercially. So we were thinking about buying it and then subdividing it and putting 2 lots in the front, and then putting the easement on this. But she says you're wasting your money because it's already covered. There's no way that, anybody could ever do anything with it, so.
okay.
Or build a couple of modest-sized buildings, maybe?
In the up front,
Yeah.
yeah.
But there wouldn't be, the parking for it, you'd have to have something that's like limited use parking, like maybe a small doctor's office or a dentist or something.
Massage
You
parlor.
couldn't put like stores, a massage parlor, yeah, you could put some.
There you go, you can only massage one at a time.
Or somebody's workshop or something like that where just they go there.
Something small.
Yeah. So the Conservation Commission, I think they've been doing good work, the trails look good.
Yeah,
That's all new. They never, that group hadn't done stuff with the trails before.
And they
Yeah,
did those
they're fired up to-
bridges
Yeah, they
and.
really,
yeah, we gave them, the town, used some of our ARPA money to give them some money to finish all the trails, because it's a liability issue. So, once you tell the selectmen that there's a liability issue, and the selectmen don't do anything, and then somebody gets hurt, we're in big trouble.
yeah.
Right.
So they
You're
told
already
us about
paying a
it,
lot
so
of
we have to do
liability
something about it,
insurance.
so. The other thing, they wanted, what was it, 5,000 for something? Most of it was for gravel, and Steve came up to us afterwards and says, don't spend the money on gravel, I have gravel in-house already that they can use, so there's no expense, so it's gonna be very limited in terms of the expense.
Super.
So-
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much invasive species control costs, I don't know how to critically judge
It's
many of these
labor
things.
intensive.
Yeah, well, they come and they do 2
Yeah.
things. One, they do it by hand, and also they have people come and spray.
Yeah,
So
so I'm saying $1,100, like, nothing on here seems that objectionable to me. I don't know why the kiosk costs $4,000, but I guess they're pretty well built and waterproof and so on.
Yep, that's for the different, if you go and look at the one that's in Little River Park, that was a very nice one. That was covered, they got a grant for all of that.
Yeah, it probably makes sense with treated lumber and having, they're putting in concrete footings or something to hold them, or?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really for the places where people go walking, it's to describe what they'll see, and also the trail
Yeah,
and
they made a
stuff like
nice
that.
map in that one
Plexiglass
too,
and
so,
stuff like that.
okay, I guess 3 kiosks cost $4,000. That's-
She got estimates, she's getting, one of the people on the Trails Committee is in the construction business, and he's providing the lumber and stuff at his cost. So he's not marking it up, so
Yeah.
they're getting it at wholesale, so.
Those seem nice, we gotta do something to attract people here. We don't have enough programs, we can at least let them go on a walk in the woods by themselves.
And giving education about your community is an important thing, so.
Yeah,
I think
So-
that's great.
Plus
Yeah.
they use it-
Trails and everything else, yeah.
The library, I don't remember what the program is
For the
called,
people.
but it's like a
Story walk?
There you go, there it is. And
the
those
real
were
estate
very
signs all
popular.
behind my house.
So we're very popular.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
you get the thing, and as you go along, you get the story and you read it to your kids. So it gets them out and listening to stories and stuff, so that's good.
Yeah, my boys have
Exercise.
done that a lot.
All right, so you good with
So good.
conservation?
Mhm.
Now,
And all the
these-
social agencies,
Well, we still have the question on our way, but
yeah,
we can decide.
I don't think you should cut them off.
all right,
I don't think so either.
I think the level we left them at last year was
okay,
Just leave them.
yep,
just leaving.
all right.
I think it was it 15? I can't remember.
I don't know the total.
Well,
Yeah, it was 15
Yeah, it
last
was
year.
15.
Okay, yeah.
Public Works,
All the other ones, did we say yes to all the agent? Basically,
Yeah.
everybody was agreeing.
Transfer.
I mean, they do way more than,
The night of the
What we're
meeting, you
actually
guys were
doing.
in favor of giving them more money everywhere.
well, that's what I said, they do way more than what they actually asked for. I mean, a couple of them were, what was that one that asked for like hardly anything and just,
You're talking about Public Works?
No, no. we're
No,
talking
the
about
social
Oh, social
services.
services, yeah.
One of them that seemed like they were just saving people left and right. from
Yeah.
Lives of desperation, then asked for like $1,200. and you
I
go,
know.
Oh my gosh,
I was like,
yeah.
Here,
Carrie
from
was
my
offering to-
pocket, here, just take
it
it.
just sounded so,
And Kerry was gonna volunteer for everything, and when he wasn't gonna volunteer for his wife, was gonna volunteer for him. That's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Ready
really
Rides,
learning
who
whether
needs,
these
like,
services help or not.
people.
No,
Yeah.
I'll report back.
Okay.
all right.
okay,
Public
all right,
Works,
give them all.
Do we have to kind of look at Public Works as a, look at his
I mean,
budgets
it's
all
like
together? all
totally-
three?
kind of, yeah,
Okay.
because they moved some things around and,
I mean, he basically bare boned it, what can you do?
He's adding one position, right? I think at the end of it, when I asked him about that, I think the
He
net,
said he would like to.
I thought the net was one person up.
We, that's,
I thought
He
he
said
had an
if
outstanding question about
something-
that. He was gonna come back to us, I thought, about
Yeah.
what the exact headcount was gonna be.
Because
Okay, yes.
if this person, they were talking about, disability with,
oh, he's,
and he's staying out now, so the
Yeah.
other guy is gonna be,
yeah,
go to that full-time position.
yeah, that's the part I
Ben.
thought he was gonna, well, no, Ben is working in the highway department and transfer station.
Right, that's,
right.
So, yes, I thought he was gonna get back to us on what exactly it was.
Yeah.
and they got one new guy that's there.
They also got rid of one guy.
Oh, they did.
There's a program, I don't remember what it's called, people that have
Special needs.
special
Yeah.
needs,
Oh,
and
Did they already get rid of him?
well,
Yeah.
just a
No, I
minute,
just saw it.
hold on. We asked for one person, and they said, no, you have to take both of them, because they go together.
Oh,
And Katrin says, no, that's not how it works. So, one guy, the guy that we like, he's staying,
Alan,
I don't remember his name.
yeah.
The other guy, who was
He's
goofing
there.
off and doing nothing and making a nuisance of himself, he's gone. So we kept the.
No, I
good
like that guy. He's up on the wall all the time now.
Yeah, yeah. So-
He's a good guy.
Well, I feel like if anybody ever deserved a raise, it's that guy who runs this
We don't-
place.
Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
We need to give him.
And
The
so-
thing is, it's not, I mean, he runs like 4 different things now, right?
well, he's not
Three or
making
four?
4 salaries, so that's what I'm saying, we gotta
He
get this
got a
guy.
little bit more when he took over the
The
transfer
things that
center,
he
but,
doesn't really wanna do, he can tell them how to put it together, and they can put together the
Right.
report for him and do things like that. I think it would really help him, that he can just hand
Yep.
some things. his
that's what I was gonna
interactions
say.
with them
It's
and
not
make it
necessarily
pretty.
giving him more
Yeah.
money,
Well,
it's like
he was there for the highway
getting
department.
him.
I feel like
helping for
both.
what-
I feel like we need
Or maybe
both.
both,
The
okay.
guy left from
Yeah.
the transfer
Okay.
station.
Yeah,
We gave him a big bump then, so he's in
Right.
charge of 2 departments.
right,
And then, now that Julie's gone, we gave him buildings, because that
Right.
suits him very
Right.
well, nicely, so,
But he
Yes.
doesn't have the time to do everything. If we can give him somebody to help
plus
with
he's
that
getting
issue.
burnt out. He's
Yes.
Yeah, that's
We
the
don't-
thing,
that's what-
you don't wanna,
Scott, what's the personnel situation like in the selectman's office right now?
There's the office manager, the town administrator, the finance officer, and then a part-time accounting person.
Who's the other half of the town clerk?
Yeah, who's the other half of the town? That's Liz.
Okay, so the part-time accountant is also part-time town clerk?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she does both.
So when
Okay,
she
so,
takes
so
over for
we
Liz,
can't,
we're
we
gonna
can't
lose
make
her.
that into a full-time person,
It's-
that's already a full-time
It's,
person.
it's,
split between
she's
two
already a
departments.
full-time person. She just.
Because I'm just trying to think of, if Steve has a lot of administrative garbage on his plate, then somebody could be serving multiple administrative roles. He shouldn't be wasting his time with payroll if they've got a punch clock and you
Well,
give that to somebody else.
that's another thing that the selectmen have very limited conversations about, because he was telling us all the things he does. One of the things he says, it takes him like 4 hours to reconcile all the cash from the certificate machine.
transfer center,
And I
yeah.
said, well, why are you doing that? Send Joanne over there to do that. So I think we need to look at what he does,
Right,
because for the amount of money we're paying him, he should not be doing that. There should be
Right.
somebody else doing that that's more
Well,
accounting.
does this committee then need to recommend budget for that?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, or is that something that we're concerned about, or are the selectmen gonna have other information where they're gonna make that call later in this process?
Don't count on the selectmen to do anything. If you need to do, if you think you need
Words
to
to
do
live by,
something,
okay?
you think
that
you
in
need
the
to do
minutes.
something, then you do it.
I would like to put that down. We think you need to have somebody to do administrative stuff,
administrative help for
For
Steve.
period.
Can we get a clearer picture of the body count too? Because
Oh, people?
Yes.
people, because the other thing is, you decided to buy that truck, right? So we're gonna be doing our own hauling.
Yes.
So who's
Okay,
driving?
so who's
the
driving?
truck?
Well, he has
That's somebody.
a couple people that are actually
I know,
qualified.
but they already had jobs, so I'm
Right.
just saying in terms of
Yes.
head count.
He has five.
He's got a new
He
line
has-
item
yeah.
here for a truck driver full-time
Yeah.
Okay,
for
good.
$48,000.
That's why I think he's already added at least one person
Yeah.
to the,
Right.
Because
to this little empire.
but the number of people he has now that can drive that truck are 5. So, and.
Is
they
he-
I'm
can-
not worried about CDLs, I'm worried about hours in the day.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
so,
Yeah, because the hours that they're
Capable
driving
of-
trucks, they're not bailing things up or
Right.
whatever else
Capable
that
of
people
driving,
do.
but,
Or
yeah.
fixing the truck.
Yes,
well, that's ultimately with the Ben person, because you have an aging issue in the highway department with
Right.
2 of those individuals. So the idea is for Peter, which he's already started, teaching
Right.
Ben what he does. So eventually Peter will retire at some point, we're not saying when.
Yeah.
Right,
But Ben will take over those particular duties, and he's got the temperament and the skill set to do that.
That's
So,
so are we finding that as a follow-up?
2 or 3
item?
years, Pete's gonna
Money
be,
for administrative
God.
help,
Yeah.
that's. what-
question mark?
Yep,
How much is that? Who
And
knows?
headcount, we wanna know the.
Can we buy them a
headcount.
computer so that they don't have to use one that pulled out?
Oh, right.
We're working on that.
And does the town not have a unified payroll system between all the different departments, or is that all
no,
separate?
they all go to one place. But the thing is, what it would be great to have is, right now, they get everything to Joanne. If they had something they could do online, then they could just do it online, so there's no traveling back and forth. That's one of the things that we're tasking Andy to look
Okay, like they're
into.
giving sheets of paper to Joanne? Oh my gosh, you cave people.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, let's,
So we've tasked Andy to look into something that we can get, and there's a program that Steve's used before at the state that does payroll, but it also does keeping track of, we applied this much salt to this particular road. It keeps track of all those kinds of things.
yeah,
But it does
highway
payroll too.
department in a box sort of thing.
So it would be nice if people, all the townspeople, could put in their hours of whatever they worked. They go to their supervisor, they get approved, and then they just automatically go to Joanne, and she can put them into the system, or it automatically loads into the
And
system.
she wouldn't have to enter them, she could
Yeah.
just load it.
So that's like what we've kind of tasked him to do.
They're now bringing stone tablets or these little jars full of beads. I track how many hours they work.
If you waffle beads.
It's actually a
Oh,
piece of
my
paper.
Lord.
So, but if
Okay.
Steve didn't have to do that, because I know the police chief, and not Jackie, oh, it is Jackie. Jackie downstairs, they spend an awful lot of time doing payroll.
Right.
Well, if you make it electronic and make them put in their hours, and then the supervisor approves it, it saves some time.
Yeah.
And it's gonna cost some money
lot
because
of
it's an
time.
application.
Yeah. a lot
But
of
if
them.
Steve's spending hours and hours, we're paying him over $80,000 to do that, that's not very good use if it's done, so. But we've tasked that, but if this committee feels that that's important, that's another voice to say, hey, we should be doing this.
I have a hard stop at 7:30, guys, just.
Okay, what, is it almost 7:30?
7:22.
Yeah.
One other question about his budget, when he has a number in there for building maintenance.
Mhm.
And I asked him if it was a WAG, and he said, yeah, it was.
Mhm.
Are the selectmen going to try and put some, I mean, do we need to work on that number more?
We are, there's a meeting tomorrow night at 5 o'clock here, which we're doing the financial planning tool. And that's one of the things that's kind of causing Steve a heartache, because he's got 40% of the items on that. And one of the things is to determine what those particular buildings need. So we've kind of started with this building, we kind of did the library a little bit. We talked about the transfer station a little bit, we talked about the highway garage a little bit, so we're gonna talk about more of those particular structures.
Okay.
But finding out how much it costs, like, for instance, the library. Well, we talked about it a little bit, but there's lead paint on the outside. So physically, we have to get that lead paint off because the siding is rotting underneath it, so we have to do something. So basically, we have to take all the siding off, take care of it because it's lead paint, and then probably put some insulation in there as much as we can stick in there, and then put the siding back on and paint it. That's just the structure out there. So he's getting prices for those kinds of things.
So
But-
the white suits have to do the lead paint, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this particular
Environmental
building,
Vantage or
he's
whatever.
looking to get costs for doing the AC downstairs in the police department.
Because when he gave us the budget, he didn't have a list associated with it, and I'm hoping that before we finalize the budget, we know what's in that number a little
Yeah,
bit.
he's working
Yeah.
on that.
That
So,
would be-
yeah,
That was my other concern about the
Yeah.
budget.
Right.
so he's
But I want to
working.
say, I'm very pleased that we're going forward and taking care of some of these things, this different
Yeah.
maintenance. Really pleased.
Well, it's good that he's doing it because he knows what needs to be done.
Right.
They were fighting with the ventilation system upstairs. I don't know if you noticed in some of the meetings, it was like wicked hot.
Yeah.
So the previous administration had people come in and they just couldn't fix it. So at some point, Steve took over and Steve took the bull by the horns and said, you people don't know what you're doing. Got rid of them, got a new firm in here and they said, oh, this is the reason why it's not working, blah, 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 and they just fix it and they're gone. So it's like, he knows when they're
Bullshitting.
BSing him, so, but that's good.
And that's great.
So, but now they fixed it and now they've got a contract to maintain this particular system, so. If we replace the one downstairs, there's a big heat exchanger unit downstairs in above one of the rooms, I don't remember. So they're gonna have to rip out the whole ceiling to get that unit out to put a new one in. So he's getting prices for all that stuff, so.
Good, good.
But it's things that should have been,
Yeah, I know.
so.
Yeah.
I was hoping before we finish the budget, there'd be some.
You'll have some,
Yeah.
you'll have some of that.
Well, hopefully, just mostly to make sure that there's enough in there to do what really needs to be done.
The other thing I can tell you is the selectmen are making some decisions. So like, for instance, this building, in the future, I'm not telling you when, but in the future, this building is going to be for public safety. It's going to be for police and fire, no meetings. Which means we need a meeting place, which forces us to look at possibly, what else do we use? So we use the town hall. So we've kind of like moved in that direction. We've also explored buying the Daily building. He says the current trust that is in doesn't allow him to sell it, but in the future, he might be interested in selling it to the town. So that's one thing we looked at in terms of maybe not building a new building, just buying that one. So that's kind of iffy. So we're kind of at least moving forward with different things.
Yep.
So I think at some point, we're gonna be renovating the town hall.
What about the
And-
Grange?
The Grange is something different. See, The Granges, they want to keep the Grange as it is, and they want the town to own it. Well, first off, if the Grange people don't want to have another Grange, continue the Grange, which their numbers are up, so they're not gonna
Right.
take. The state gets it, and then the state's gonna sell it. But the thing is, if the town owned that particular building, you couldn't operate it the way it is.
Right, oh, I agree.
So
The
those.
parish hall is.
I think the town needs to
is
stop
what you have.
collecting old buildings.
Yeah, well,
I think that would be
Collect them.
my step one, is to stop buying old buildings. So we still have the cemetery, code enforcement. building department
cemetery.
We did
talked about.
cemetery.
Yeah, we're good on cemetery.
planning, zoning, fire, we'll get the CIP, selectmen's budget next time.
Okay, I'll add cemetery,
Yeah.
to the
We're
list of
up
things we
to-
talked about.
We're
We all gave a
actually-
thumbs up.
I must have been looking up other things.
7,800, I think, or what was
Scott,
it?
do we need to be,
We were fine
is
with
the
the
rec commission
cemetery budget.
requesting 50,000 for the,
The rec commission?
We are
No.
for the tennis court?
up
They
to,
looking to put a bunch of
what
money
we've
into the
heard so
CIP
far.
for the,
For rec commission?
yeah,
Oh, I don't know what's in the CIP. I
Okay.
haven't seen that,
okay.
so.
they were
And then-
talking about repurposing that
Okay,
money
what the CIP is.
to do,
He wants to build,
Okay.
he wants to build a tennis court.
I remember from last year.
Okay.
Well, there's $30,000 in the trust fund now, so he could do something.
but he wanted to do the floor of the
Yeah.
pavilion,
Try and
and
make
he
some money.
wanted to do
That's
a
not
bunch of
$30,000
other
though.
stuff.
So we'll see what the
Acronyms, I
CIP
don't
people
know.
have to sell us for.
Right,
So I think that, I don't know if the select board is doing something or if we can do something, but like, the point you made, Scott, about people aging
Oh,
into retirement. So I think that we probably need to pay some special attention to incentivizing young people to, you know, get
Yeah.
involved in public service. One thought I had, I know Court always is talking about our high taxes, but like, is there anything that we can do as a town to say like, okay, if you're a public employee, you get a discount on your tax rate that you pay or something like that, just because we can't pay them a ton of money, but we can incentivize them in other ways that might not necessarily cost us a ton of money.
I don't know if you could give them a freebie on their taxes, but you could
Well, that's
pay
just like
them.
one idea.
You could pay them more, you could do that. The big
But I feel
thing,
like
You
even,
could
we're
allow
never
more
gonna be able to.
multi-unit buildings so that people could afford to live in town. You could reduce the
Yeah.
lot size requirements so that people
It's
could build
housing.
more houses.
it's
Yeah.
housing is what kills the younger people, it's housing. So
Yeah.
if you could have low-income housing, that would assist lots of businesses as well.
But I guess the point is, like, we're never gonna be able to pay people outrageous sums of money, right? So like, we're gonna have to figure out as a town other ways that we can entice people to come and work here. Because we're never gonna be able to pay
Provide
them
them a place to
$100,000
live.
salaries.
Yeah, the building code basically is a series of rules that says you have to be this rich, nope, this rich, nope, this rich, nope, this rich. Actually, to live in Lee, you have to be this rich.
Yeah.
And we've taken the ladder of success where you leave high school, you go get a job, you do whatever you do, and we just cut rungs out and said, no, on Lee, you've gotta be established, making money already. I mean, there's a reason why my wife and I bought a house here when we were in our 30s,
Right,
and we couldn't have done it in our 20s.
yeah.
We were living in a different state, different life.
But even
whatever,
in your thirties, if you're working at our transfer station, you can't buy a house here, you know, so like, how
You
can
can't
we
live
fix that
here.
problem?
You can't live.
No, so, and there's, I mean, I think people in town have, those rules are put in place for good reasons. People say, I wanna preserve the rural nature of the community I live in.
Yeah,
But,
there's unintended consequences.
yeah, doing that means there's less places for people to live, and there, you know what, I've looked around, there are more people. They're not less people.
That's true.
And New Hampshire overall has a problem with young people leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna hear it again from Scott Nevitt when we hear from the fire
Yeah.
department. Every year, it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Can't get anybody to work for him.
Yeah, so you can't do this thing of, well, I want all this beauty and space and no neighbors, and I definitely don't want to ever
There's
drive by
two
an
parts
apartment
on
building.
that.
But at the same time, I want people to work here for
They
next
get right
thing, you
here.
know?
And then they go somewhere exciting.
I know, he talks
Because
about that every year.
there's not enough work for them, they are bored, the ones that really want a career, because they're not.
If Larry
getting
could
enough.
organize a bunch of older people to go put cats in trees, okay? The fire department has something to do.
You put out fires.
they
and
go on
then-
a lot of calls and
Yeah.
stuff, they're pretty,
Yeah.
Fire department?
not as busy as,
Well, the
You know,
thing that
Portsmouth
Nevin says in
Their
terms of people
excitement
coming
is
here,
going to Durham
They don't-
as a,
they don't get excited because there's not enough fires.
Right,
Right.
They want
Right,
fires,
they want
and they
fires.
usually get like, cat of a tree or, a vehicle issue.
Lines down,
They're looking-
motor vehicle
He's had numerous
accidents.
people that left us because they want more action.
Right,
They want more fires. So it's like,
I know,
and they have
it
to,
is that
fireman that wants more
mentality,
fires.
it's like,
they have to
yeah,
go over after somebody's had dialysis and help them into the house instead,
Yeah.
that's what they're.
Or some older person's fallen down and they have to go, help. They don't want that. They want the glamour of, a fire and blazing and stuff like that, or some, so it's like,
well, there's different parts to it, and we don't have the paramedic part, we don't have, that's with,
yeah.
which is a big moneymaker, actually, one of the bigger ones, which,
Well, they seem to do it right, though. That's versus
No, I know.
a service.
Yeah. yeah,
So
But,
we're done.
but there's different parts, yeah. All right, are we good?
Uh,
7:32.
Until next